Welcome to Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. My name is Mark Pascucci Clifford. My co-host, Robert Woods Ledoux, is here as well.
Hello.
And today, we are honored to be joined by Mike Thies and Topu, who make up the duo Live Footage. And they're both composers, instrumentalists, multi-instrumentalists. And they have created a very interesting kind of realm for themselves where they live and work in New York, where they've our creative team working with different media and dancers and as well as getting into the world of soundtracking and licensing. So thank you both so much for being on here. Also, this is our first time interviewing a creative duo. Usually we've had single guests on at a time, so I'm interested in seeing how that goes.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Right on. So, yeah, I'm curious, if we could get just a little bit of each of y'all's background before we get to the point of where you met. So where are you both from? Where'd you grow up? And Mike, how about we start with you?
Okay. I grew up in Colorado, in Gun Barrel, it's called. It's just outside of Boulder. And I grew up on Gun Barrel Circle in Gun Barrel, Colorado. And I think that's why my dad moved there, because he's into guns.
That checks out. Is that near like Erie or any of those realms over there, or Nederland or?
Nederland, that's in the mountains.
Okay.
But no, it's in between Longmont and Boulder. I don't know if you know Niwot. It's pretty close to there.
I think I do, because I used to say the spoonerism, the why not all the time, but anyway.
But yeah, so I grew up there, and then I moved to New York in 2004.
Okay, cool. Did you do any part of your, after high school schooling in Colorado, or were you just you were there, you were playing with some people on the scene, and then you moved to New York?
No, I did 2 years at Metro State.
Oh, Metro. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. And I know you was Dave Devine teaching there at the time?
Yeah, he was.
Just so people know, Dave Devine is a guitarist and a very a figurehead in the Denver, Colorado music scene. So
yeah, he moved there, I think, right as I was going to school there, and I met him because he was subbing for this guitar player in one of my ensembles, and then I think I had a few ensembles with him later, but that's how I met him. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And
sweet.
What were you studying exactly?
Music.
Like drum
performance.
set performance, or?
I'm sorry, what?
Drum set performance, or jazz or?
Yeah, jazz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right
It was drum set, and I think at Metro, there was a really good foundation for me for learning like theory, because there was like it was kind of a classical angle on theory. It wasn't like jazz theory, but it's basic music theory. So I'd learned like figure bass and stuff like that. So yeah.
Cool. And Topu, what about you? Where did you grow up before you ended up in New York?
I grew up in Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Oh, cool.
And I studied mostly classical until about high school. Just through the symphony and that kind of stuff.
Was there youth symphony programs in Albuquerque? I know. I grew up in Denver, so I'm more familiar with all the things out there. But
yeah, there was like a really good youth symphony program in Albuquerque, and yeah, thank God for that. As I feel like,
right. I mean,
that was like a beacon of light for a lot of people.
What do you? It's weird. My mom moved to Farmington, New Mexico, for whatever, and I go and I visited her and I like lived with her out there. And I love the Four Corners region because you can go out to Utah, you can go up to like Telluride and Silverton and Colorado and all that. And I'm curious, what are your thoughts on Albuquerque now? Do you ever go back? Do you ever play out there? Do you ever kind of check out what the scene is? Because I've heard that there's actually a bustling experimental music scene out there. I'm not sure. I'm just curious what your thoughts are.
Maybe like 8 years ago, my parents moved out of Albuquerque.
Okay.
So they retired. But 2 years ago, me and my girlfriend, I just brought her out there just to show her like what's up with it. And I feel like with every year that goes by, I just have like a new appreciation for Albuquerque.
Yeah.
Like that I didn't have growing up.
Yeah, I think in a place like that, it'd probably be easy to want to get out when you're younger, but you go back and it's like big sky country. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, definitely.
I love the desert. It's a very important connection. Another question though, before you had left, before you graduated high school, I know you were working mostly classical, but at what point did electronics start coming into your sphere? Like, okay, I can start doing other things besides the standard repertoire with the cello. Did that not come till after you'd moved to New York?
No, that started in Albuquerque. I started a rock band where I was playing guitar. And I got some pedals. I had like one of those pedal like multi-pedal effects and then a wah-wah pedal.
Oh, like all on the same board?
Yeah, it was just like one of those things that had like 4 switches and, you could program it to distortion or whatever. And then at some point, maybe like my junior year, I was dating a girl who built me a pickup for my cello.
Whoa.
And yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Using like a little piezo or?
Yeah. It's just like a little brass thing. And then it had just like a 1/4 inch. It's very basic.
That's sweet.
But yeah, and then I was like, whoa, what if I just plug all my pedals into this with my cello? And then I was in a kind of experimental piano duo.
Wow.
And we would just jam using that.
When you were doing that at the time, did you consider yourselves to be experimental, or is that just like?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you were just making some music, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Cool. Sweet. So let's kind of fast forward. Okay, so Mike, I think you ended up at the New School, correct?
Yeah.
And Topu, did you go there as well in New York?
No, I went to University of Arizona.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
Okay, so we have a little bit of a journey before you get out there. What were you how long were you there before you ended up on the East Coast? And what were you studying? Music?
Yeah, I was doing cello performance.
Okay. Is that in Tempe? Where is that?
It's in Tucson.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you do your whole degree out there?
Yeah. I did the cello performance with a classical teacher, and then on the side I would study with this bassist Ed Friedland. He was like a jazz guy. He was like the main jazz guy in Tucson.
Okay, were you starting to improvise like in a jazz context working with him? Were you thinking in chord theories that way?
Yeah, he was
scales.
I didn't know anything about jazz at all, but I was really into jazz and really wanted to learn it. So, he was just teaching me how to like walk bass lines and just jazz theory and how to comp and guide tones and kind of how to arrange and like I think the guide tones and the how to build chords around a melody is like the most like the biggest like the things that I use every day still.
I 100% can relate to and agree with that.
Actually, can you Sorry, I actually don't know what you mean by guide tones.
It's you know, when I think about that, I think about like 1-3-5-7 in a chord. You know, if you have a minor 7 chord, root, third,
like
fifth.
Chord tones, the same.
Chord tones, yeah.
Okay.
Right? Is that what you're thinking of, Topu?
The way I think about it is just the 3s and the 7s for the guide tones.
Okay.
Like the ones that kind of shape the
that decide the quality and the directionality.
Definitely.
The butter notes.
Yes.
Butter notes, yeah.
The ones that matter, because you don't really need the fifth in there, and yeah.
That was Miles. I think Miles called them butter notes, and he's like, I forgot who he was talking to, but he's like, don't give it away too quick with the butter notes, you know. It's like, something. I'm probably wrong about that quote.
No,
it's not a direct quote.
I've heard someone talk about that, and I believe it might have been Herbie. I think I saw a video recently. Herbie saying something like
maybe,
that. Yeah. Okay, cool. Guide tones. That's good for me to know. I teach jazz like almost every day, so it's good to make sure that I'm using that terminology correctly. I was just thinking of all of them, but
we would just play like he would just play like the 1s and 5s over like jazz tunes, and I would always have to just play like the 3s and 7s over. Like that's how we would kind of start.
Yeah.
Oh, right on. Cool.
Right on. Were you gigging out doing any jazz in that area, or were you still playing classical rep as well?
I was doing mostly classical, but I was in a band that it's kind of like a jam band, and we would take like very long improvisations, you know, not necessarily like using jazz chords or anything like that.
Right. Well, I mean, that's very good experience to have at a youngish collegey sort of age, or any time really, just to stretch out and get more comfortable with just playing and listening and letting things develop and grow. And I feel like that can inform anything that you do down the line.
Definitely.
So just real quick before your paths converge, Mike, what were you studying at the real school when you were there?
The new school?
The new school. My bad. The real book, the new school. It is. I am just now having my coffee. It's a pinch early out here, so my apologies, dude.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're in California, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's
wow.
That's
like 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
Dang.
Right, yeah. It's all gravy, but yes, the new school.
The question was, what was I studying there?
Yeah.
It was like jazz performance. I forgot what the technical name of my degree was.
Drumming?
I should probably drumming. But yeah, that's what I was studying out there, and I chose the new school because they let you study with anybody in the city, and that's like your teacher, assuming you test out of like some basic shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I applied there, and New England Conservatory, and also William Patterson.
Oh yeah, totally.
I met Mark Juliana in Paris, and he was like telling me, I was like, I mean, first of all, he blew me away. Like, what? This is probably in 2001-ish. And I was just like, dude, what the hell? You're amazing. Yeah. Like, where did you go to school? You know? And he's just like, oh man, he was just super into William Patterson. So I applied there too, but I ended up getting into the new school. And then I think when you were interviewing Danny, he was talking about the Claudia Quintet and John Hollenbeck coming
Yes.
out. Like I saw him perform at University of Colorado,
Mhm.
and like kind of just turned my whole shit around.
Yeah, I had a similar experience with Claudia Quintet, and it's still extremely important music to me to this day. So I was going to
Yeah.
ask if you ended up working with John Hollenbeck.
Yeah, so I studied with him. That was like the reason I wanted to basically go to the new school.
It's a good reason, dude.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, he didn't teach there, like I said, but
Right.
but yeah. So I studied with him a lot, and Jim Black,
Woo.
and
Oh man.
yeah, and there was like a bunch. Like I took tabla lessons for 6 months, and just some other, like this guy Amir Zeev and Andrew Cyril.
Oh wow. Very cool. Andrew Cyril is amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
With Hollenbeck, did you study composition at all, or was it mainly drums?
Yeah, I did dip into composition with him. I felt like he was kind of like, he's like, oh yeah, this is, this is nice. Like sort of work on it, like,
Yeah.
I think he was more interested in teaching me drums, because he saw that I was at like a certain level with
Right.
that. And he's really good at just pointing out, like, I took a few composition lessons with him, and he'd be like, yeah, well, like this is really the only part of this song I like, and it's like for this. So
Yeah, I had a couple composition lessons with him, and showed him some recordings. I made some scores and stuff, and his main thing was getting me into the world of the Bob Brookmeyer, like how to organize your thinking about what materials you have at hand, what materials have already been used by other artists in other mediums, how you can apply that creatively to composition. And then also like getting me to read that book and like In Conversation with Bob Brookmeyer, where he talks extensively about these techniques that he uses that have influenced John Hollenbeck quite a bit, like modular compositional techniques. And then, he basically encouraged me to like, dissect and tear apart and reconstruct everything that I had showed him. And but in a very sweet way.
For me, it was like I kind of had to dig and like ask about his compositions. That was the most fruitful for me. Like there was a few that I was just like, oh, can we talk about this song or this song? And then he would kind of like dissect his own thing, and I'd be like, oh, that's cool. But yeah,
I had a really funny moment with. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
It's oftentimes the best way to learn from composers is to get them to talk about their own stuff. Like,
yeah, definitely learn more about that than bringing my compositions to him.
Yeah.
So
I did have one really funny moment that made me feel silly when I was talking to him. I was talking about this is hilarious. Anyway, I think it's the third track on like their second record or something like that. And there's a moment in there where Be Happy, I think it's called. Be Happy is the name of the song. But there's a moment like, probably 7 minutes in before the big build up at the end where like everyone's doing these quiet little arpeggios and there's a bass solo. And I was talking to John, I was like, and then you do this thing where like you just make like a little sound on the drums, and that's what moves everyone along. He's like, yes, that's a cue. I was like,
tell me about this cue.
I was like, right on, dude. Well, thanks for the lesson.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's kind of talk about when you all get together and
so wait,
and Topu.
Can I? Yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Topu, what led you to go to New York?
Yes.
Ultimately, like from Arizona.
Well, I lived after Arizona, the band I was in moved to Portland for a little bit.
Oh.
And it was kind of like during that, there was like a lot of like big indie bands that were from Portland. So it felt like a cool place to be, but kind of ended up being anything but cool, I thought. It felt really like cliquey. I wanted to kind of meet some musicians or jazz musicians, and just felt like nobody was like into jamming with anyone outside of their circle. Or and I always knew that I wanted to end up in New York eventually. Just, you know, like growing up reading the Miles Davis autobiography, and just like all the great jazz autobiographies and biographies. Everything just takes place in New York. So,
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, just hearing Mike even say like, "Oh, and studied with Jim Black," and you're like, "Yeah, kind of have to be in certain places in order for these types of things to happen," you know?
yeah.
So, yeah, having lived on the West Coast for a bit, I haven't found Portland to be a jazz hub necessarily, you know. But
Not
I'm
at all.
curious too. Were you composing at this time when you were going from Arizona to Portland and then to New York? Had you already started writing music or?
Yeah, writing, like I hadn't been, like, I guess I was writing like nothing too complex, nothing like too through composed, but I would write like just like kind of like rock songs, or not even rock songs, but just like instrumental kind of rock stuff. I guess now it lives more in the rock realm.
Yeah, and were you like playing this out on guitar or keyboard and demoing it out for the band, or how were you writing?
No, just like on cello.
On cello, okay.
Yeah, and just playing riffs and singing out other ideas, melodies, like playing bass and singing melodies. Or
were you looping at this time?
Yeah, I got my first looper at that time, and like started sampling. Like in our early recordings, like I would sample mostly just like Miles Davis and Charlie, just like these old, and then like pitch it down a little bit.
Oh, okay. So,
did you have the Echoplex?
No, at that time I had the Boss
RC,
like RC5 or something like that. Yeah,
is that the one with the two
classic?
The two pedals?
Yeah, the two one. Yeah,
those things you can do a lot with those. Those are pretty.
You
dope.
can, and they have so much, like you could sample like a lot of. Yeah, they just have a lot of memory.
Yeah. So you were using those to sample the RC, the pedal.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh. Is there like a little auxiliary in that you can like take out of your computer or something to sample with that?
There was just like a little 1/8". So I think I would just record from like mini disc or into that.
Right on.
Mini discs.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Miss those
Definitely.
things.
Topu had like a whole drawer like full of mini discs. I remember.
Oh yeah, hundreds.
We used to record our early shows on mini discs.
Mini discs were extremely important for the like bootlegging culture when I was in high school. Like hearing all the burning stuff that was going on at the time, it was because of mini discs. You know,
yeah.
like our people a generation ahead of us that we like Michael Bailey, who we were still in touch with, would send mini discs back to Colin Stranahan, who would then like spread it around in the community, and so suddenly everything that's going on, and you're transcribing like Glasper when you're a junior in high school and stuff, But
Michael Bailey was like in our band at the beginning.
What?
He was part of Live Footage. I think it's kind of before we were called Live Footage, but we used to jam with him like all the time, and we played shows with him and stuff.
Yeah,
Crazy.
We had songs with him.
Cool. Michael Bailey, for the listeners, I knew him as a great tenor player who was in Colorado and then moved to the East Coast. That's wild. I had no idea that y'all were interlaced. So Topu, what year did you move out, and then how did you two actually meet? What year did you move to New York?
I moved to New York in 2004. with that band I was in,
Yeah.
which was called Skidmore Fountain. And then I met Mike in 2006.
Sorry, can you say the name one more time? I didn't hear.
Skidmore Fountain.
Skidmore Fountain?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, cool. You met in 2006, and was there... Okay, where and how did you meet, and what made you decide that, all right, cool, we're gonna get together and play some music?
You want to take that, Topu?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it from my perspective. So 2006, I was living with these two dancers, Siri and Christina. They're both like amazing dancers. And we lived in Prospect Heights at that time, and we wanted to throw a Halloween / birthday party. It's my birthday. So we just all collectively invited our friends. Christina knew Maya, who then was Mike's girlfriend, now his wife. And
Okay.
my room was kind of like, I was probably playing a bunch of like avant-garde. My room was kind of just like the avant-garde / weed room where everyone was smoking weed and playing. And I believe that's where Mike ended up.
Definitely
He gravitated towards that room.
Yeah.
Yes, those awesome, excellent. So those were you listening to or actually playing music?
Just listening.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I remember just talking to Mike about like what he was doing, and he said he would play drums, and he was doing a residency off the Bedford Avenue. Was that Reed Cafe?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's saying he was doing like solo drums, and he had like an electronic setup through his computer.
That was with Brian Knoll too.
Oh, Brian Knoll, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But you also did some solo stuff too, right? Was that or
maybe
not?
Once? I think it was mostly with Brian.
Okay. I did that gig once with Brian too. It's funny. Maybe I like sub for you.
Amazing. It was like a tiny cafe.
Yeah.
That
totally.
Yeah.
And you were just playing solo with Kit and electronics, right? Or...
Well, no. Mostly I was playing. There's this guy Brian Knoll.
Oh, sorry. Right. You were just.
He goes by Light Bath is his moniker now. He's really great. But at the time he was playing guitar and like a bunch of effects and stuff. And I had a drum kit, like a really small one, and then I had the Reason 2.5.
Oh wow!
next to me, so there was like a MIDI keyboard and my computer.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's what that gig was.
And y'all are just jamming, or what?
Yeah, it was basically improvising, like beat based. Like at the time, I think Brian and I were really into like Boards of Canada, that kind of thing. Yeah, but not as good.
Right on. So when you first play as a duo, did this? I think I saw something that it happened on April 20th, 2006, or something like that. Was your first gig? Is that correct?
2008, I think.
2008. Okay. And was this for a dance show or was this for something else? Your first one.
It was a dance show. So Topu's roommate Siri was part of this collective. Topu, maybe you should explain that.
The collective was called Free Radicals, and it was made out of. I was also a member of it. It was Siri. It was like 4 dancers. There's a guy named Shomit who is like he was a poet, and he still is a poet and musician. There was also an artist named Surit. So it was just like a collective of artists that were all from Arizona.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and we had this show at this yoga studio in, was that the Lower East Side, or was that Lower
Tribeca.
Westville? Oh, Tribeca. Yeah, it's called Shri Studio.
Mm-hmm.
It was big though. It was like not like your average yoga studio. It was kind of like big, big space.
Is some of the footage that you have up online from that particular show? I mean, there's a few things that you have with dancers. I don't know if you documented that one at all.
I don't think there's any. Is there any footage at all of that show?
Yeah, they did hire a documentarist, but I think the footage just was just like close-ups on everybody, you know.
Oh, that's right. He was just taking like super big like creative liberties, right? Like,
yeah, I think when they saw it, they were like super pissed. They're like, what are you doing?
He's like, I'll send my invoice, thanks.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Oh man, what a bummer.
Yeah,
I'd still like to see it though.
I know. I bet you.
It's probably pretty
could
cool.
be salvaged for sure. Yeah.
So at the early stages, I mean, because I think both Bob and I are fascinated about what your rig is now and how it's like evolved, and specifically how you're like doing with looping together and not having everything go sideways. So at the early stages, what was your rig like? Was it like you just Topu, you had your looping pedal, and then Mike, were you on your kind of like little Reason rig that you were using at the time, or had it evolved?
I dropped Reason. I got Reason for free, like so.
Yeah.
I never actually bought it later. So once that computer died, I was done with Reason. But I think at first, oh well, actually, so Topu's band Skidmore Fountain, they had the drummer used a click, and so that we used that as like basically the brain. So like I could listen to the click, and that's sending MIDI to his looping.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think when we very first started out, we were off the click.
Yeah.
Like we had no click for a while.
Right.
I
remember at Metro, I watched a clinic of what's that trumpeter's name? Kwong Vu.
Oh yeah, totally. That guy's great.
And
he's in Seattle mostly, I think, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so during the clinic, I was asking the drummer, Ted Port, I was like, how do you stay on? And he was just giving advice like how to like listen for certain things in the loop, and just got to have really good time.
Yeah. That's really fascinating. I've done things with loops, and even trying to drum with some of the stuff that Danny has generated. You're finding events to sort of reset wherever you are, if need be. But
right.
Even at your early wait, so Topu, I think you just said that maybe for that particular performance you weren't on a click at that point, but pretty early on you start using a click. Is this right?
Yeah, I would say
maybe we did like a few years without a click, because we were just sort of jamming like a lot,
Yeah.
So can you? Okay, because maybe we pretty soon can listen to a sample from your earliest release record. Just to kind of get a sense of where you were early on. This is your 2009 release, but can you describe just a little bit of? I don't know, like how are you talking about setting up tempo, or how how is that responsibility divvied up when you're just improvising together? How does that happen, and how much is talked about beforehand?
Well, I think we were writing like earlier in 2009. We were actually like writing together, whereas now it's mainly improvising, and in the studio and stuff will improvise and find the bits that are good.
Interesting.
Like the record with Danny, it's all improv.
Yeah.
But early on, yeah, like that first record, I think everything was written, right? Like,
Okay, that makes sense. As a listener, a lot of it feels composed.
Yeah.
To
Definitely.
me, and so I was like, wait, man, are they improvising? So I was curious about that. Bob, do you think we can check out a little bit of that 1976 3 around the 2-minute mark or so with the jungle beats?
Yeah.
And this record is just called Live Footage too, right? From
Yeah,
2000?
it's like a
self-titled.
self-titled, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this is from Live Footage, released in 2009. So some early documents.
All right.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that is composed.
Yeah, haven't listened to that for like 7 years.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Cool. And so sorry to, I mean, the idea of the being on the click is like really kind of it's tying the room together in my mind quite a bit for a lot of the things that I was curious about. Can I just ask if you were using one at this point from what we just heard?
Yeah.
Okay, and
Yeah.
do you control the click from your end, Mike?
Yeah. Usually I have like a drum machine that has a tap tempo basically. And at that time I can't even remember what drum machine we were using.
I think
you got it right there.
I believe it was this one.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, the Elisa's.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
There she is.
just for the click, this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
to this
where
day,
was the
it's,
click was going into a pedal that you had, Topu?
Yeah, it was going into my Echoplex.
the MIDI.
which
It was just sending MIDI.
Yeah, it was just sending
both.
MIDI.
And Mike, you were like listening to something. on headphones or
Well,
something?
both of us have a click. Actually, Topu
That time,
didn't.
only you.
Yeah, so it was ridiculous. When we'd play live, I'd click sticks like for parts that I wasn't playing, you know?
Oh,
So
right.
it's like he had to, so he could like stay on tempo. It's so fucking dumb. But yeah, there's like a sound that we just programmed, like a you know, that we just program out to like a output that I could just listen.
Right on. So, I guess why the name Live Footage actually?
Let's see, our friend, didn't Monique come up with that?
Yeah, I guess there's a little dispute between Randy and Monique who created it.
Oh, Randy thinks that he's got that. I'd like to hear Randy's side of that because I thought it was always Monique. I don't know. Like we were going through, like we had like a solid month of meditating on different names. Like I think Hand and Foot was like a top contender. Thank God we didn't do that one. But yeah, it's just like because people were saying that, you know, our sound is kind of cinematic, you know, and so Live Footage felt like a fitting, you know, name for that.
Right on.
And there was also the like we use a lot of pedals and stuff like that. So the double meaning of the live footage or like the active feet.
Is that a double entendre? I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
So
I think, is that a double entendre?
This album that you guys put together did you record this in a studio or did you do this on your own?
Yeah, we went up to it was in New Paltz. Our friend Gary had a studio up, like a home studio up there that's pretty well set up. And then my brother Nolan was living in Dallas at the time. He mixed it, and he was working at a studio. Nolan and the other studio owner, this guy Toby Pipes, who wrote the song "Breakfast at Tiffany's."
Whoa!
And so that's basically that's what bought their studio, and that was like a real fucking kick-ass studio. I'm sorry, am I not allowed to swear?
You can say anything that you want.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. A fucking great studio.
Thank you. Lean in, man.
But yeah, so we sent it down there to be mixed, and I think who mastered that? Can you remember, Topu? It was like a pretty.
I think
pretty heavy.
You had won some kind of.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember. Like you got. Yeah, you had won something in.
I went to South by Southwest with this band I was playing with in New York, and I just like one of those things where you write your name on like piece of paper, entered to win a, you know, like whatever, and it was
mastering.
Yeah, it's like, so I put it in and I won, and so like it's like master your album for free, and it turned out to be this guy. God, I can't remember his name right now, but he's like kind of like legendary in the mastering world. Like every time I mention him to mastering engineers, they're always just like, "Oh, whoa!" But I guess too bad I can't remember his name right now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely helped because, you know, we did not have any money then,
right?
Or now.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
So did you were you guys had been playing for a while before you got this album together, I would assume?
Yeah, we did a few shows. We were, I think, I mean, some house parties, regular kinds of concert venues and stuff. We were playing, right?
Yeah, we're playing. I feel like we were playing pretty regularly. It just felt like pretty, like with very little effort. Like I don't think we tried to get gigs. People just kind of hit us up to do gigs.
Yeah.
So everything just kind of was easy.
That's good.
And I mean, more or less low impact. It's just two of y'all. So like organizing rehearsals. Well, I mean, did you rehearse? Obviously, if
We
you were
did,
writing together, did you have like
Yeah.
regular weekly or bi-weekly?
Yeah,
I feel like
we once or twice a week. Topu lived in this like tiny basement hole.
like one of those illegal situations.
Oh yeah.
And then just pull the drums out of the closet, and also at that time I was using this like Casio keyboard, and that would go through a Blues Junior.
Oh, cool.
So yeah,
Like a SK1 type size, smaller Casio, or
no, it actually was. It's, I guess, not SK1 size. It's bigger. It's I can't even remember the model, but it was pretty early on, pretty early Casio. It actually sounded pretty cool, and there was a drum machine on there. There's a song on the first album called Nonfiction that has like if you like switch between patterns on the drum machine, like in a rhythmic way, it sounds crazy. It's like Square Pusher or some shit.
oh yes, I was listening to that and I was wondering how that was happening. So you were manually switching the patterns on the Casio tone?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
there's like a little switch that you can it's like you can cycle between 4 different ones really fast.
Oh yeah,
You know?
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds crazy. That's a really cool track, and it was a high contender for listening to. But
We would always try to play that live, and I think at that time I had a loop pedal as well, but it wasn't synced MIDI.
yeah.
So like I would have to do that drum part and then overdub like the keyboard ostinato thing.
Yeah.
And we train wreck it nearly every time.
Yeah, right. I mean, because Casios and MIDI clocking aren't usually friends in my experience, right? I've never had like a good.
I don't think. I mean, I'm sure there's some Casios that have MIDI, but
Right on. So you have a couple records. So 2009, 2011. At what point do you start this relationship that seems to be a very standard thing now with the studio called the Creamery?
Oh yeah. So I met Quinn, who owns the Creamery, pretty early, I guess, maybe 2009 or 10. And he was like a bass player, and he engineered as well. Eventually he built out a studio that's going strong these days. I just kind of knew him through my roommate. I don't know if you know Beck Berger.
Yeah.
He's down in New Orleans now, but I was in a lot of bands with him in Colorado, and Danny too. So Beck met him on the train because Beck had just bought a Nord. Like the Nords basically just came out, and he's like, "Oh, come jam." And so I had been jamming with Quinn for a while, and then he kind of got the studio set up, and we decided to do full record there, Doyers, which was really fun. We recorded like that was like 8 tracks on the Tascam 388. It's like a 8-track 1/4-inch machine.
Let's see. The Tascam 3. Sorry, I'm trying to think that through here because I have like the 424, and I think that's 6 or 8. Is the 388 like the blue one?
No,
it's
it
like
has
cassette.
No,
recorder?
it's it's
talking
1/4-inch,
tape.
but the
1/4-inch tape. My bad. Okay, cool.
yeah, and it's like built into the unit itself. So like you have the 8 channels of EQs and all that, and then there's like the whole tape section.
Oh, weird. Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. You're saying that's the board that you were using.
Yeah.
Not like a little cassette project or something.
What's it called
No,
again?
no,
The Tascam what?
388.
388.
388.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had done Willoughby and Plays JD elsewhere, and then the Creamery was you did your record Doyers from 2014. That was the first one you did there. Is that correct?
Well, Plays JD came after Doyers, I think, right, Topu?
I think so.
That was at the Creamery.
But in our Spotify, it shows that Blaze JD came out first.
Yeah, I mean, just from your Bandcamp, the Discog saying that Plays JD was out in 2011 and Doyers was out in 2014. So that's what I'm going from, but that might be incorrect.
It's possible.
It's possible.
I honestly don't remember.
Yeah.
But Doyers was kind of the first like real record we made there, and that was like the first vinyl we pressed, and we got our amazing artist friend Guno Park to do the cover.
Yeah,
great cover.
I think. Thank you.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
one important thing is that we had started our residency at this place called Apotheca.
Oh
which
yeah, totally.
Was on Doyer Street. So, and then from that residency we had to fill in 3 hours every Sunday. So that's when we really started kind of having to like improvise a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
okay. So I looked at the website for, how do you say that? Apotheca?
Apotheca. I mean, it just means pharmacy in like a bunch of different European languages. So some people say apothec.
Okay.
Nobody knows how to truly say it.
I see. That place looks kind of I would be intimidated trying to get in, I guess. They're just like, you have to look good and we might not let you in. Is kind of the vibe I got from the website.
Sundays are different. Sundays are way chiller.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you still hold this residency down?
We do. Yeah.
Wow.
Playing there tomorrow night.
Whoa.
Oh my God, that's amazing. How many years has that been? When did you start?
We started in 2010.
Man, that's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours. That's kind of where once we started not playing songs anymore, like our compositions and stuff, and just improvising, that like really, it's like going to the gym or something,
No, totally.
Yeah. I feel like that's like Doyers was like the first documentation of just all that improvisation kind of.
Right. Yeah. Because we were improvising for Doyers, right?
We had a few songs, but we ended up just liking the improvisation stuff more.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how did you, I mean, a residency like that is kind of a rare and amazing thing. I know of, to have like a lab. Well, okay, so before the pandemic, I had a residency that was every second Friday with a band of mine that's a quintet, like trumpet, alto, bass, vibes, drums. And we could play all original stuff like as out as we wanted. And they just, and we never needed to rehearse. And that was just once a month. And it taught me so much. Like, it got my improvising chops up a lot and got my composing chops together quite a bit because I was able to workshop anything I had, But I think the experience of playing regularly with the same people you grow so much from that, whether it's in a rehearsal or in a place like this where you're performing and you're actually the people. You need to do something that people are listening to and taking in and enjoying, and it's invaluable. I mean, I don't know of too many other weeklies like this that have been held down for 12 years. So how did this relationship start?
Well, we knew the guy that designed like the interior,
Okay.
and he kind of got us the gig. Yeah, and that's how we got the gig.
Yeah.
The interior designer hookup, of course.
He's not really an interior designer. He's kind of like what do you call Ian Martin is his name.
I mean, he's an artist.
Yeah.
First off.
Yeah.
But he's really great
Is
at
it-
woodworking and.
Is that person's design representative of what it currently looks like on the website? Just curious.
His artwork is like very different from
Yeah.
what. So I don't think he actually. I think this guy Chris Tierney, he was kind of like the mastermind of the design, and Ian helped bring it to life. I believe.
Yeah, because he's really good at like he bought a place in Brooklyn, and kind of stripped it and redid it all, and it looks amazing. It's like he can do that stuff, and then right now he's making these amazing mirrors. They're like,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know how to describe them, but you can't afford one.
That's yeah.
Put it that way.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I actually don't even know how much you'd sell those for, but they look amazing, and he's an amazing painter too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Well, okay, cool. So you've done Doyers, you have your residency, you're improvising. So can we check out maybe something from Planetarium just to see what it's like now that you're progressing a little bit? Does that seem cool?
Sure.
Just to listen to the progression just a little bit. So let's listen to a bit from the 90s. It's a song called The 90s from the record Planetarium, which is 2016. And so you've been holding down this residency for 6 years at this point?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Man.
I'll play just a bit from the top.
All right. Nice, man. Nice. So is that improvised?
Dang, I don't remember. I think it was. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that definitely wasn't written.
Okay.
Yeah. We
Now-
recorded that in our. I had like a rehearsal space, so that was recorded in our rehearsal space
Tricky.
in Brooklyn.
That whole record or just that song?
I think that whole record.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Cool.
Most.
Oh
there's
yeah,
some
totally.
songs
That
that-
you are not crediting Creamery on this one. My bad.
There might have been a few.
There's some that weren't like uncharted territory, and
Oh yeah, that was at the Creamery.
mhm.
yeah, Earthplate.
So are there? Just curious, when you have something like that, that's like big tempo, big beat. Do you have agreements or a count off, or are you just like, all right, here we go, boom, and just hit it? Like, because I'm just curious about that process with something like that, where to me it sounds like there was probably some sort of agreement up top, but maybe not.
I would imagine that was just like in the midst of a improv. Like somehow we got to that,
Oh, okay.
And when we mixed it, we probably shaped it a lot,
Right on. And that seems like you've had a couple of opportunities to work that way now, where you're in a studio, you set up, or not in a studio, like in the case of Ice Pond, where you set up your rigs, and so you're improvising and distilling from improvisations, maybe moments that you like, and then you can shape it from there as part of the mix. So is mixing part of the compositional process, I guess? You know what I mean? You're shaping the improv.
Definitely.
Cool.
Yeah, and we work with my brother a lot, and he's like really a great ear, and he has really good like ideas and stuff, and he's just down to experiment, like.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Does he mix all this stuff for you?
Yeah. Well, Doyers was mixed by Quinn at the Creamery.
Mhm.
Okay.
And the first two records were my brother and that other guy, Toby, who was in Deep Blue Something. But yeah, I think mainly it's Nolan. He does a lot of mixing for us.
Right on.
Cool. So, yeah, it's good to have someone kind of outside of your own person, well, outside of yourself, to have a little bit of creative, like an extra filter for the material. Because if you're just generating tons of raw material, sometimes that's really hard to go through and listen to everything and make decisions like aesthetically about what you want to do. So it seems like having someone like Nolan would be invaluable. That's very cool. I'm fascinated by the next two projects, at least according to your, Bandcamp discography that you had done. You did the Moods of the Desert and then Ice Pond, and I would love to talk about both of those briefly. Moods of the Desert was, you say it's your first concept record, right? And it's like evoking for y'all desert imagery, right?
Yeah.
And it's a 4-track. Is that right? I think it's 4 tracks.
Yeah.
And
Two of the tracks have the same name. I love that.
yeah. So, okay, with that one, was there material, or were you just like, okay, so for this improvisation or for this project, we're going to evoke the desert. Go.
That one was so Nolan was working. He's freelance, so he works out of a bunch of different studios, and there's one called Room 17 that's not there anymore, but it was a cool vibe in there, and we got to go in there and we just did our thing, improvised, and I think like we kind of forgot about it. Like, yeah, it wasn't like an especially amazing session as I remember. Like, I played great. Topu was no, but like we kind of like time went by, and then I was in Israel and I was on a train and I was just listening through like back when there were iPods still, and you could listen to music on a device besides through a streaming service. And I was listening through a lot of the outtakes, and I was like, you know what? Like some of these are actually pretty cool. So I just sort of like we made some notes, and then when we went into to go and work on it and mix it, we got really experimental with like, using like echo only signals on tape echoes. And,
I see. Yeah.
And when we would like listen back to something we'd just been working on, like we'd put on like desert fit video, to kind of like get an
Grand
image
Canyon,
of something.
Sedona.
Wait, what desert fit video?
Just like maybe Planet Earth or something like.
Oh, dig. Yeah. Attenborough didn't make it into the record though, man. That's
almost many times almost.
That's a big deal.
We made a video for View from a Desert Helicopter. This guy, David Drake, he lives in England. He's like, oh guys, I'm coming out. He's like, I'm going to California or something, and we're just like, man, like, can you take a helicopter ride? But he actually didn't, but he took a bunch of footage of the desert when he was out there, and he had his friend like run it through like VHS stuff. So really it kind of captured the mood. Yeah, but we've gotten some reviews about that album. They're just like, I don't see why this relates to the desert at all. It's not.
Did you quit music after that review?
Yeah,
almost. Almost did. It's a gut punch.
That's what you should do after a bad review. You should always quit. So you heard it here, folks.
We took some time off.
Yeah.
It's like we don't get many reviews in the first place, and
yeah. Oh man, no, I love this, the idea of it, and then also the idea of like how you made Ice Pond, and that was the next record in terms of your posted discography. So let's see. I'm just going to read what the process was, according to y'all. Ice Pond was created from a live footage excursion to upstate New York with filmmaker Drew Lightfoot, where on his property there is a body of water aptly called the Ice Pond. The band set up their gear on a deck next to the pond with a projector, a scrim, and all their electronics. From there, they went scene by scene and improvised several takes to his upcoming film Spotless. During the time at the pond, an abundance of music was produced, including this album. So, I mean, that sounds like, to me, a dream to go somewhere, go away, set up everything, and like soundtrack someone's project scene by scene just by improvising multiple takes over it. How was that experience for y'all? Was it cold?
Was it cold?
Was it cold? It wasn't. It was kind of cold.
It was in the summer, I think.
I remember that like he did this one thing where he has this like metal boat and he filled it with wood, and we were playing, and then he lit it on fire. So like there's a video of us playing, improvising, and then there's like this boat that's on fire, just like,
oh my god.
So, it's pretty cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just surrealism at its best, man. That's amazing.
Yeah.
But I think ironically though, like I don't think we were like a lot of that music I don't think ended up in Spotless. Like I think we kind of just ended up getting in our own zone. Like
there actually was quite a bit though. I just watched it recently. Yeah, there's
okay,
not all of it, but a lot of it.
Oh well, that's good.
So
I felt kind of bad. I felt like we
movie.
sort of got in our own zone a little bit too much,
Oh, I see.
But
Well, I mean, what do you think's going to happen if you take someone to like a scenic getaway upstate and tell them to play? Like you are going to, going to get into a zone.
Yeah.
So I think
it's also hard to improvise and like watch a film, and like I'm like trying to look down at my electronics and like, where's my mallets? Like I'm gonna get my mallets, and it's like I can't just sit there and look at the image for
Were you
the
just
whole
seeing it for
time.
the first time?
What'd you say?
Were you seeing it for the first time, like as you were improvising, or had you watched it?
Basically, I mean, I think there might have been some stuff we saw before, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
That's
Yeah, anytime that I've done improvising for film, like I did something at the Mint in San Francisco a couple years ago, but I went through the film and made like kind of a score, like a timeline type score, and then I gave that to 3 musicians with like sort of peaks and stuff, and of course we all threw it out, like once you're playing, you're basically just playing, and you can see sort of dramatic high points in the film that you can like literally represent, like with dynamically or something like that. But I feel like in the end your job is to make music together, and if that can be reflective of how you feel, or how the film that you're watching makes you feel, then that's cool. But I feel like this is the issue that I run into a lot when you're improvising for some sort of other type of media. I just end up making music.
I have a question for you guys. Like, when you guys are improvising together, does there come a point when you're like, okay, we need to like switch, like where you can agree, like you need to switch it up or something? And how do you know that you've arrived on that point? And do you communicate it with each other, or are you guys just locked together? or do you guys have any thoughts about that kind of thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, like just the hours and hours of improvising we've done, like we have a pretty good language together, and it's like I feel like we're both on the same level. It's like if something's getting a little boring, it's like all right, something's got to happen, and we know our like process, like looping and all that, like just kind of just know when it's time to do something,
Right on.
Yeah, at this point it's like pretty much like an unspoken language. Like we might look at each other for like let's go to the B section, or but when it's time to transition to a new song, I feel like we're just kind of locked in. Someone will start a new idea and then we'll just go from there.
When you're playing like a set, do you guys end songs and then pause and start a new song?
No, not really.
Just flow?
Yeah.
Right on.
It always kind of felt like weird. I mean, when we were playing songs, yeah, we would do that. But when you're improvising, it's like it kind of feels weird to stop and then start again, unless like the music just dictates like, oh, this here, like you should stop now. But
yeah,
we generally don't. It's kind of taken like a DJ approach. Just this is what we do at Apotheca too. Just like one song into the next. It's like, or not song, just improvs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much do y'all lay out individually? Like give individual space, or each other, a bit of solo time within improvisations? Do you feel like you both
not
are always
enough.
playing? Just out of just curious.
I feel like we're pretty much always making noise together,
Right on. Well, I want to listen to some of your, like what you did with Danny, but before we get into this, because this one is full on improvisation, and then I'd love to talk to y'all about what you've been doing with soundtracking and licensing and all that. But so can you just tell us, like, for example, you're going to go in tomorrow and play, can you talk down your current rig just for us gear nerds out here? So yeah, what you both are using and how they're connected and talking.
Topu, go for it.
I guess the brain of mine is I have 2 echo plexes. Those are like Gibson Oberheim. And then I have a MIDI controller, like a Keith McMillan, that can control both of them separately, like one on MIDI channel 1, one on MIDI channel 2, so they can
Whoa,
they can act separate from each other.
Okay.
that's cool.
And then I have 2 expression pedals, one that kind of controls the volume feedback for each one. And then aside from that, I have a bunch of pedals like a whammy pedal and chaos pad and reverbs and delays and Moog MIDI Murph and
What's that one?
MIDI Murph. It could connect MIDI and then has like LFOs and could create like rhythmic patterns.
It's like a sequencer kind of.
Yeah, it's like a sequencer.
There's like bands of frequency that'll like go between.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, you can mess with the rhythm, but it will stay like on the click. And it has like kind of fader type things where you could like turn down certain frequencies, so it kind of chops it up in interesting ways.
Interesting. That's an interesting pedal.
Yeah.
OP1, organelle.
OP1, organelle. So those are all like pre-loop, and then I have a few post-loop ones. Like I have a 404. What else do I have? Delay, a filter,
And 5-string electric cello.
5-string. Yeah.
Wait,
Most importantly.
yeah, you just threw you said OP1 as well in there. That's in the. Oh wow,
that's in the chain.
Those are very powerful in and of themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you said 404. Is that a Roland? Is that a SP?
Mm-hmm.
And that's post loop.
That's post loop, like a lot of effects and just certain ambient samples.
Yeah, those
like
have
rain and
their sound is very they have their own sound, so you can use it just I guess as its own sort of filter, right?
Yeah. I love the effects in them.
Yeah, those things sound rad. Okay, there's a lot there, but most of the just like the little collection of disparate pedals you have is pre-loop, you said?
Most of it, yeah. And then post-loop, there's also 2 sidechain pedals, like one for each echoplex. That's connected to Mike's kick drum.
Oh.
Yeah, there's like a little mic that we put in my kick drum that goes to the sidechain.
Nice.
That's cool.
That's cool.
I have not.
That was a big milestone for us. Like when we started
dude.
doing that, like we're just kind of like, oh, now we can. Yeah.
That probably like changed up the mixing game for you immensely, right? For the live sound and everything. That's
definitely.
Wow.
That's big.
Huh. Okay. Cool. And then, Mike, what about on your end?
So typically, like when we gig, I just have kick, snare, hi-hat, and ride. Because that is like in the early days, that's all we could fit in the car, essentially.
Yeah.
But now I get to store that at Tech, well, the kick and the hardware. So yeah, it's like, sorry, my kids are screaming.
It's okay.
So yeah, like I have like a Slingerland My God, I can't fucking concentrate right now.
All right.
Anyways, yeah, you know, old A's, old A symbol. Symbol. I have a symbol. I can't. Jesus Christ.
It's all good. It's all good, man.
Okay, let me just keep barreling through. We used to use I used to have I don't do it anymore, but I had a 707 that was the brain for a while that we could use, like, so I could hear the click from that, and then I would actually loop that into my mixer so we could have 707 drums as well. Mm-hmm. I have a organelle, Critter and Guitari that's hooked up MIDI, so there's a lot of sequencers on that are really powerful. A lot of drum, like I sampled congas and put those in there, and whatever else is like all the drum machines.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Then I don't use it anymore, but I had like the Yamaha CP reface, you know, like it's like got Rhodes, Whirly, clavinet, toy piano. They're small. It's like
because the normal CPs that I am familiar with are extremely heavy but really good sounding, like huge Yamaha.
not that.
Okay.
But actually, the label there's a label, Ephemeral Arts. They put out Unwritten Soundtrack that Danny's on. And those guys, they have a band, and they would bring a CP, like an actual one. It's like to all their gigs, and I'm just like, you guys are nuts, man. But
yeah, I've toured the East Coast with a vibraphone and a CP for one of the bands I was in, and it was gnarly, you know, because you also like, you know, we were young.
What band was that?
Yeah.
That was Dreams with Rob Shelton.
Oh,
Rob played a CP on that tour. That's
crazy.
Was gnarly, man.
Well, vibes are not light either. Shit.
Vibes are a bastard all around, and you have to, you know, Danny Meyer, I attribute the quote, but he's like helping me get one set up early in the morning, and it's super cold, and he's like, man, you have to really love the vibraphone to be. I was like, yeah, got to be kind of in it, but it's like drums, you know. And once you get used to your rig,
it's a little worse than drums, I would say.
It's a little what?
It's a little worse than drums, slightly. The
logistics. Like with the muting and stuff, like, and making sure the motor's working. Like,
oh man,
I feel like it's like a Rhodes or something where, like, you know, it's like, oh, this note is still like, it's like ringing out or whatever. Or,
yeah,
you know, like, I guess you don't have to worry about tuning.
No, you don't. You have to worry about everyone being mad at you for being at 442, though. So, yeah, with my vibraphone, I have gotten used to carrying around the correct tools that I need to adjust the things that normally go wrong at any point in time. And I have like extra bands. I've hacked the electronics in my motor so many times, replaced switches and stuff like that now, and tried to get it to go as fast as Matt Moran's. It's like I don't have the pedal like Matt Moran, but because he uses like a slide string guitar pedal, you know what I mean? Like a pedal steel guitar. That's what it is. So he uses that. He connected it to the variable resistor in the motor control, and he found a way where he can basically plug in any vibraphone to this pedal rig. He can hack any vibraphone, and now he has his normal foot control. So I'm still used to it. Man. Yeah.
Have you heard? Do you know Slavic Soul Party?
Oh, big time. Yeah.
Yeah. And how about Kenny Warren? Do you know him?
Yeah, totally. I was so glad to hear that Kenny's like in the mix there with Slavic Soul Party.
Yeah, man. He's played with us a bunch too.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my friend Darren Johnston moved out there, and he's playing with Slavic Soul Party whenever Kenny can't make it.
Oh. I didn't know that Darren Johnston had moved.
Well, he's one of the truly bi-coastal people that I know. It's interesting. He's always here and he's always there at the same time. I don't know how people do that, but he's managed it.
Are you in the Bay Area? Where are you?
Yeah, I'm in Oakland, and Bob's in Bakersfield.
Oh, okay. You guys are both in Cali.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, totally.
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. That was a little side quest. That was fun. I love talking about the vibraphone. And Matt Moran. Let's talk about Matt Moran. All right. So yeah, should we listen a little bit to let's listen to Mantis Love. What do you think? Let's listen to this record that you've done with our dear friend Danny Meyer, whose episode went up recently. So this is fully improvised with your current rig and with Danny, who is an amazing improviser, a great musician, and a good guy all around. So here is Mantis Love from Unwritten Soundtrack. Yeah, very beautiful. Very beautiful. I love hearing Danny in the mix there. You know, this is maybe a good place to start talking about what you've all done with soundtracking a bit, because like in this record in particular, there's in all of them I hear you know, there's a lot of space, there's a lot of patience, but it seems like you two as a duo are particularly perfectly suited to create almost anything that someone might ask for, like soundtrack or commercial requirements, right? So at what point did you start to work in the world of licensing and actual soundtracking? I mean, we've talked a little bit about some soundtracking stuff that you've done, but it seems like this is you're pushing that as a commercial aspect too, as part of who you are as live footage. Would you say that's true? Like running it like a business as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think our first, I guess, our manager got us hooked up with this company called Music Bed many years ago, and I think that's what I feel like that's the first time I really thought of it as a viable way to have that as like a big part of like actually like a career.
Mm-hmm.
Like some of the people came out, and I remember
So wait,
like we were talking to
sorry,
them.
what is Music Bed?
Oh, they're a music licensing company, so
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Some of the people came out and they shot a promo video for us. And
It's like a profile piece.
yeah, profile piece. And I just remember talking to this guy Christian, and we're just talking about like some of the artists. He's like, oh, some of the artists, like, they actually make like, they could, like, this is their full time, like, this is their full time job. Plus, they do very well. And I was like, what? Really? You can, like, I hadn't ever thought about like,
you can make money with music.
Yeah, it's like, what? You could do this as your full time. And he was just saying, oh yeah, some guys make like, $5,000 or $6,000 a month, or I was like, what? I was like, damn,
that's some bread. Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's like a real thing. So I think that's the first time I was like, oh shit, there's like, but I like from our get go, like we were scoring, the dance piece. So I feel like it's in our DNA, and
right.
Like when I was in college, I would like do like work with dance a lot, and I know Mike also worked with dance a lot. So I just feel like we both come from like a background of interacting with multimedia, dancers, movies, visuals.
Right. And I think that's part of what I was saying, like how you're almost like perfectly suited as a duet, like with the sounds that you're able to create, the musical skill sets that you both have, to almost like fill any ticket. You know what I mean? If you're like getting like assignments, like, all right, this is what I need. You're like, yeah, we can do basically anything you want. Have you found that to be true? Like you're dynamic and malleable in being able to sort of fulfill any like client requests or anything like that? Or are people just listening to what you already have and sort of using that?
Well, with the licensing, it's just all existing material that's up there. So it is what it is, basically. Like,
yeah,
there's not going to be too much vocals or really any for that matter.
right.
There's not going to be, trumpet, like big horn sections and stuff like that. Like, you just get the flavor of who we are. It is what it is. But then soundtracking is different, like if we need to bring somebody in, like, like Danny's all over the Jeen-Yuhs soundtrack we just did. So, and that ended up being like really important for that, it was just like one session he came in, and I made him like, he, clarinet is not his main instrument, or flute, but he's like always, so he's like, oh, I sound like shit on this, but I'm just like, no, not really, dude. He's pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of want to. What had you soundtrack before? Like getting asked to do the Jeen-Yuhs soundtrack, because that. I mean, I've been watching that leading up to this. It's extremely compelling, and I have my own thing with Kanye and all that, but it's amazing that y'all had that opportunity to do that, and it's a really moving documentary, in my opinion. So
yeah,
what sort of led up to that?
Well, Kudi and Chike, the directors of Jeen-Yuhs, we met them years and years ago. They'd come to Apoteca a lot. We did music for a short film they made a long time ago, and then we also did the music for their Muhammad Ali, the People's Champ, it's called.
Yeah.
And so we've definitely worked with them a lot and just hung out with them. Like they used to, like I said, they would come to Apotheca all the time, and we would just chill with them.
Okay. Crazy.
Yeah. And I think Cootie told you, Topu, he's just like, this is kind of right before the pandemic. He's like, you guys' life is about to change or something.
Yeah.
And we're just like, what? But I think he's like, he had mentioned that he had all this like footage of Kanye
Yeah.
and stuff. And
Yeah, he's slowly kind of released that knowledge through the years. Like I remember like just we had worked on some stuff, and then after he's just like, oh yeah, we did the Through the Wire video for Kanye. And I was like, what? It's like I was like, oh shit, so like you actually know him? He's like, yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. And just kind of take it like, oh, okay, that's like you probably like met him a little bit or something.
right.
And then, just like a little bit more like, oh yeah, Kanye, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, like, huh, this dude, does he actually know Kanye? Like didn't really know. He was very just like, didn't talk about it like too much.
Yeah.
He's a humble guy.
It's interesting. Like when like when we realized that he had all that, it's like, oh shit, like you know this dude.
You know him extremely well.
Yeah, like I was like, okay, that's different than I could have imagined.
Yeah, the fact that footage exists is insane to me. Like him following that strand in his mind where he's like, I'm actually gonna stop comedy and I'm going to film this individual and I'm gonna follow him wherever he goes. And he
for 20 years or whatever.
Yeah, some extremely important moments in modern music, like it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And there's so much extra footage too. Like there could be another 3-part documentary with stuff that wasn't used.
Yeah, of course.
Insane.
I can imagine. I can't imagine the editing process, honestly. Like if you've been filming for that long.
Yeah. Well, it's like similar to like we're talking about improvising in the studio, and like you get all this stuff from it, and having somebody else kind of like help you go through it or whatever, like be like, oh, this is good here, or this could be tacked onto this or something, The editors on Jeen-Yuhs were super helpful for that, I think. Max and Jason.
Oh yeah.
So and Byron.
Byron too, yeah.
Did you guys see the movie before you made the music for it, or how did that?
Yeah. They were sending scenes like. Okay. Basically, we started work on this March 2020. So like, Apotheca shuts down. New York City's about to catch on fire with COVID.
Yeah.
And that was like super scary at that time, or like April especially, just because like nobody was going out, and New York had been like all the hospitals were just full of shit. And so in the midst, like I'm trying to watch my kids like all day, and then my wife was like nice enough. She's like, okay, take 2 hours, and I would just bike to my studio as fast as I could, and we'd get these new scenes, and I'm like every single one, I'm just like, holy shit, like here's Kanye like and Jay-Z in some like famous studio in somewhere. And I'm just like, I'm gonna make music for this?
Yeah, that's it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But it's like they would send scenes and kind of full cuts of an act sometimes, but it would change a lot. So, it's like one day this scene is like this, and we get the music sounding great and perfect, and then the next day it's completely different, and they need another edit. It's
And to create the music, were you improvising or were you coming up with stuff, or how did it work?
Well, a lot of that was, since we were separate You know, it's like either Topu would come up with an idea or I would, and yeah, that's kind of like improvising is kind of the root of that. But I don't know, Topu, maybe you can speak on this a little more. Like he would send me like 7 cello parts that I'm just like how do you write that? Like it's not just like you write it out on piano or something before and then just take each finger and apply it to a string part or something. It's just like I don't know.
Yeah. I feel like that process changed a lot through like the first scenes that we got were so like I didn't really even understand what was going on. Like to me they were like very disjunct and
yeah, it wasn't like
like
in the linear thing either. Like we didn't get the
Yeah, it's
beginning
like-
and it'd just be like this scene and this part of act or whatever.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it didn't make any sense to me. It'd just be like channel 0 and I didn't even really know what channel 0 was and it's like what is going on? Okay, here's Kanye in this scene, super young, and then there wasn't like any kind of narrative yet or anything like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they sent some really cool like just like cues or like what is it called? Like reference tracks like that.
Yeah.
They were like really open with us, just kind of like, oh, you don't have to make it sound like it, but maybe try to catch the emotional aspect or just
A lot
something.
of it was Julia Holter, who Danny played with.
Yeah, totally.
Oh, interesting.
And Bob went to school with.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Oh cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, her stuff was great, especially off that movie. What was it like? Do you remember the name of the movie? Like Happily.
Oh, yeah, something like
It was
Happily Ever After.
something like that. Yes, it was a movie that she had scored, which had an amazing like. She did a great job.
Is she Cal Arts? Bob, were you a Cal Arts guy?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
she was
cool.
I was in the composition program and she was there in the composition program at the same time.
Did you know Art Landy?
Cool.
No.
Wait, was Art there?
I-
At Cal Arts?
No.
Well, I thought he did like a bunch of. I thought he did like he was like a guy that would go and teach for a while there or something. I don't know.
It's possible. I did my master's there, so I was only there for 2 years. So maybe I missed that. But yeah, it wasn't there when I was there. At least, maybe not that I know of. It was
I know
fun.
his son went there too. I think Otis.
Oh, I do know Otis. I totally know Otis.
Otis Landy.
Yeah.
I don't actually know Otis very well at all. I think I might have met him once, but I know Art really well.
He played in this. I played in the salsa band when I was there. He was playing. Otis was playing bass. Yeah.
Art
I
is-
didn't
Art
know
is an
that they
amazing
were
human.
related at all.
Yeah. Mark, have you read that book Art put out recently? With I can't remember what it's called, but he wrote it with that sax player he plays with all the time. What's his name?
Not like John Gunther.
No. Damn, I can't remember his name. It's a very cool book, though. It's like it's very, very art.
Yeah, I would love to check that out. Maybe Mark Harris or something. Is it a sax player
No.
out there?
I don't know where the guy lives, but he's been in like a bunch of bands with Art. I can't remember. I'll email you later. Dang, I wish I could remember the name of it.
Hang on. We're getting there, folks. Being Music, the Art of Open Improvisation.
That's it.
So-
That's it. Highly recommend to
Mark
any of your
Miller-
listeners.
Mark Miller with Art Landy.
Mark Miller, right?
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll put that up in the show notes for sure. Yeah, I'm still reading through that Bob Brookmeyer book, but okay.
Being
So-
music. That's the. What is it?
Yeah.
called?
Yeah, Being Music, the Art of Open Improvisation by Mark Miller and Art Landy, who is like one of the most amazing people to make music and improvise with in the world.
Definitely. Him and Ron Miles are like the
Yeah.
Colorado heroes
Yeah,
of
definitely.
Colorado.
Yeah, rest in peace. That was a huge hit.
Yeah, I know, right?
When Ron passed, that was a rough one. So, all right, cool. So let's see here. I would love to, and anyone who hasn't watched Genius, like, check it out. It's beautiful. But I think it's doing very well and has a lot of visibility, obviously. So again, that's super. That's really cool that y'all that you landed that and were a part of that project. That is sweet. Can you talk maybe just a little bit more about that? Was there any like more other like memorable studio session moments or any scenes in particular that you feel like you really nailed, or just any other memories from that process?
During the pandemic, there was one time where we went to the creamery. It was like still kind of scary to go. I think it was like one of the first times like meeting up with Mike. Was that the first time I saw you? Like, or not saw you, but like
maybe like indoors, like
indoors.
Yeah.
I think that was like at the end of a wave or whatever.
Yeah, that was in October.
Yeah,
and it was a very like unique set, like, because we had been in creamery so many times, but we had never done a session like that where songs were more through composed, and Mike had like several stations. One was like a piano, and I was doing mostly like acoustic cello, and we were just writing kind of like a lot differently.
It was very quick writing, like
very quick. Like we would just sit at the table and just write stuff.
Or even like Topu would be like scrolling something out, at the table right before. It's like, which I kind of like. It's almost like improvising in a way. It's just sort of like,
and basically you would see the part, and then we would be playing to it, and then you would just kind of improvise like a melody on top. Like I would have a cello melody, it had chords, and then Mike would just kind of improvise a melody on top of that.
Yeah,
and a lot of that stuff, some of that stuff got used. Like one of my favorite scenes, that's that Chicago scene. I believe there's like one where Kanye is like they're walking, and then there's like a Broadway poster of Chicago.
Oh yeah.
And then he's like, cue the dramatic music, and then like that like, one,
bam,
he like leans down, and then it's like boom. Yeah, the piano comes in. So
I love that way of working in a studio. Like when you have studio work and you need to be generating material that's going to be documented pretty quickly, it feels really nice,
Because we didn't necessarily record that for Genius though. Like we were just.
It wasn't. Not necessarily, but I guess in the back of my mind, the reason why we recorded like this instrumentation was like because it made more sense for the doc, to get this kind of sound.
Yeah.
Right on.
Very cool.
Yeah, great work on that, honestly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wish we could do like a soundtrack or something, or put something out, but like Netflix basically owns it.
Yeah, that's a bit of a fortress.
Yeah.
I bet communicating with them would be insane. My friend Alex Warzel has done some soundtracking work for Netflix, and he has some stories about working with them and what ended up happening with that. But so okay, for me, out of my own curiosity, and I'd love to hear. I mean, Bob has more experience in this than I do, I think. But would y'all care to comment at all about the state of licensing in today's world? Because I think that has shifted significantly since you probably first started to get into that game. I don't know if you would agree or not, or if you've been working with organizations that have kept it pretty consistent and feeling good. But it seems to me like taking the time to create like a music house now or something like that is, you have some odds stacked up against you at this point. So I know that, I'm just curious to hear what honestly all you three have to say about that. Just wanted to address that a bit,
I think during the pandemic, when live music was like not happening, every single musician's like, I want to do licensing, like I want to film scores, like
Yeah.
like I want to do that. And so all of a sudden it got so saturated, even before, I think it was kind of getting there, and we were lucky that we got into music bed and all that. But that said, like we don't put everything up on music bed. Like there's some stuff that we don't, just like not everybody can access,
Well, totally, yeah. You have your own standalone discography, and I'm sure that you want that to just hang and be its own thing in many cases. But
yeah, it's like we don't want everything on wedding videos, or whatever. Or like a Ford commercial or something, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been with Music Bed for how long?
Man, I don't know, probably 10 years, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is Music Bed is like a music house where you contribute to a catalog of stuff that people can license, basically?
Yeah, like filmmakers can go there and be like, I need something like romantic and dark that, has energy still. It's like that. Just they can search their whole database and be like, okay, here's this song, like this is perfect. And so they'll be like, what are you licensing, or like what are you going to use it for? I'll be like, oh, it's like I said, wedding video or something. Then they give them a price.
And have you ever worked directly with like people that are doing bids for commercials and stuff?
Yeah. We have a friend, Jacob Place. He's like a really, really amazing musician and producer. He's doing that all the time. And so sometimes we end up doing like session work for him.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
But we've done it too, like ourselves, like we'll make something for this that might be chosen,
Yeah.
It's like
I did that a long time ago. I was working for a music house, and it would be like, this bid has come in. You have 24 hours to work on make as many versions of whatever the idea is as you possibly can, and you might get paid. It's possible.
Yeah. And it's never like they're just like, oh, we need this ASAP, like like, yeah, okay. And then like it's like, 2 weeks later, like they're just like, oh, can you get a revision on it? And just like, you didn't need this ASAP, did you?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
I get very random commercial work that way. And the last one I got was from, I just knew him as Jared, but it turns out he was in the Matson too. And he's like, I need vibraphone, quick, And so I sent him like 8 takes of a solo. And then he, gave me a comp to his concert and paid me a bit. But that stuff is super just very spotty. And I don't necessarily seek it out as much as I do like studio musician type work. But it sounds to me like you have found yourselves in a position where you sort of got in at a good time and you're established in a way. Does it feel like stable, and it just seems like such a kind of a stressful world to be in sometimes from an outsider looking in, like the way that Bob just described it just now. I'm just like, oh man, like musically that's not how I want to put my energy out, like trying to make a bid happen.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Yeah, the commercial thing is not like our we're not trying to do that, but
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like contributing to a piece of art, like film, like somebody's film,
Yeah.
and just trying to make the collective thing better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good. Yes, that sounds noble and true. That's excellent.
Noble
Yeah.
and true.
Yeah. Well, man, I mean, what do y'all have coming up? Oh, there it is. The Tascam 388. Thanks, Bob. I've seen those things. Those are rad. What do you have coming up in terms of other projects or records or anything else that you want to amplify?
We have a collaboration with this guy Jay Ivy. I don't know if you remember him from the Genius. He did the verse on "Never Let Me Down" with Jay-Z, Kanye. There's like I don't know if you've seen the second episode yet, but he's
I personally have seen the first act, so
the first second.
I think Bob's further in than I am.
I watched it. Yeah.
Okay.
Jay Ivy,
So-
he was the writer. Like he
The
wrote
poet.
all of Cootie's voiceover and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But he's a brilliant poet. And that was an interesting thing as well, because we met him at Apotheca through Cootie. And he lives in Chicago. And he's just like, oh, we should do something sometime, And
Mhm.
a lot of times, like, people say that and they don't do it, But then
Yes.
he hit us up. He's like, hey, I'm coming back to New York. And we're just like, okay. So we booked a session at the Bunker studio in Brooklyn where my brother works at. And literally, like, I mean, I knew he did that verse on Never Let Me Down, but like, I had no idea what he did really. Like, and I'm not like super into spoken word or anything. Like, I knew like Saul Williams, and that's basically it.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, okay, we'll do it. But it ended up being really amazing session. Like, we just improvised, and he's really good at feeling energy and feeling, but we didn't know any of the pieces like before.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it was all improvised, including his pieces.
No,
Or were those-
his were written. I think
So some of his were written. He
Yeah.
improvised some of his too.
Yeah.
Like to the point where I didn't know, like when we were playing and I was listening, I didn't know which ones were written and which ones were
Mhm.
improvised.
Wow.
You know?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds beautiful.
Yeah, and like I think there's one song on there that maybe we did like a second take of, where we're just like, oh well, like, I think there's one song,
Ernie Barnes.
Ernie Barnes, yeah, where who's a brilliant artist. They were just kind of like, oh yeah, we're looking for like a Marvin Gaye kind of vibe, and so we kind of worked out a loop thing before, like we like looped the roads through Topu's rig, and we took a second take of that, but otherwise it was all just improvised.
Wow. That's cool.
Man, I would like to loop my roads through Topu's rig.
Everyone
that-
does.
Anytime.
That rig sounds like infinite fun.
Yeah.
But
We also recorded a cello quartet.
oh, sick.
That was, yeah,
Mhm.
and we're collaborating with an artist in Holland, or Netherlands.
Louis Reith.
He's a really amazing artist. So we're gonna make like as of now, it's a cassette, and then we'll have a book that's like basically fine art, like one page, and then you turn it over and it'll be the score. So
Oh,
for the
nice.
0.1% of people who can follow along with the score, they've got that.
Hmm.
Right on.
But,
Yeah, but
It's
that's so cool.
a score
I love
written-
that idea.
that you guys wrote. Or-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Topu
Mhm.
Topu wrote all of those, and then we did some. Like, this was my first time as a conductor,
Oh.
so I felt like a total hack. But I don't know. And these guys, like, we hired 3 other cellists, and they're all like Juilliard.
Juilliard,
Fucking-
like very intimidating.
we
especially for
we
me.
rehearsed at Carnegie Hall, like
Whoa.
That's one of them
not at the main stage or anything, but like there's like rooms above. I'm just sort of like whoa, and I'm just like, I was like using this like very thin drumstick as a conductor wand, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I have, well, I mean, not that high profile, but I can absolutely relate to what you're talking about right now because of what happened at my school. Like they just needed someone to fill in for the strings program for one period on Mondays in the afternoon, and everyone knows me as like, theory, jazz, vibraphone, that kind of stuff. And I come in and I have a busted mallet as the baton, and I'm like learning how to. I've been in orchestras. I've been doing youth orchestras. I know about the ictus and all this, but like getting these cats who have known me for years, middle schoolers and high schoolers, to like even hone in. It's a whole other other thing. So I ended up finding a baton. I was like, all right, this is good experience. I'm gonna take this as seriously as I can.
Yeah.
Try to get these cats to like play some music, from the side of the stand that I've never been on,
It's always been my experience that there's always more to conducting than you think there is, and it's like particularly like the if you're conducting an ensemble that's not like super like I imagine like if you're doing like a string quartet, string quartets play all the time without conductors,
right?
Yeah.
So they can kind of get along, but an ensemble that's relying on you is like it's
a symphony.
They could have definitely done it without a conductor, these people, but there was some points that I did feel like I was useful.
I
think Mike's role was more as like interpreting, not like a timekeeper or anything like that, but just more like interpreting the piece.
Like,
and there was some
expressive decisions.
Yeah, expressive. Yeah,
right.
Totally.
And for some of it, I went into the control room and they put on headphones, and so I was doing kind of like guided improv, like sort of like Butch Morris kind of.
Whoa.
Like
nice, dude.
Like okay, like go to B major now, or it would be like rainforest sounds, or like all extended technique, or everyone play like pits right now, except for you, Marta. You soar on top or something. And those ended up being really great too. They're real. I'm really glad we did those. It's like a kind of a different flavor from the compositions that Topu wrote.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like neo-Baroque and then very textural and conceptual, and they complement each other very. Like when you start to get tired of the neo-Baroque sounds, these kind of pop in and give you a.
When is this going to be out?
Well, we're trying to get the the project with Jay Ivy out first, which it's very close to being done, and then after that, we're looking at the cello quartets. We also have an Apotheca Live album that's basically done.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that turned out really great too. We have this friend Trax who came every Sunday for like probably a year or 2 years.
For a while.
I don't know about 2 years. Yeah, but
a year probably.
But it's just like four tracks, 414 overhead and two direct with cellos or the echoplexes, and then one my keyboard. And I have a mic that I put in the kick drum that I connect directly to a sub at Apotec.
Oh, wow.
So it's like you can hear the kick, which is nice, with one microphone overhead.
Wow.
But you also are And you also sidechain that as well?
Yeah, so there's actually 2 microphones in my kick drum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have a dual capsule kick mic that has one one dynamic and one condenser output.
Oh,
but
that's crazy.
It's
That's
kind of
what we
fun.
need.
You just record them both and kind of mess around
That's
with
cool.
it. Yeah.
Super
Wait,
cool.
and this dude calls himself Trax?
Yeah.
his name is Ilya.
X.
Yeah, his real name is Ilya.
Okay, I mean that's an appropriate name for the work.
Yeah, for sure.
Someone who's
Yeah,
recording
he's good
tracks.
vibes, man. He just comes down. It just came down every Sunday and monitors the levels, basically.
Yeah, he just does that. And when we first met, he's just like, "What kind of mic you want to record?" And we're like, maybe like 414. And then he just got on his phone and just ordered it like right there. He's like, 414, this one? Like, yeah. And he's like, okay, bought. Like, dang.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, we were just outside. He's just,
Yeah, he's like smoking a cigarette.
Like,
Okay, I'm gonna buy it.
He just bought a 414. I'm like, okay.
Next
cool.
week he showed up with that. And then
I mean,
we started
yeah,
recording.
it's my 414 is one of my prized possessions of my studio setup. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It's good lord. People like that are kind of funny.
I know.
You should have been like, oh wait, I meant the Neumann 57.
Yeah.
Not a 414. Can you go back?
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
I meant a Neve board.
Yeah. If you can just bring that to tech every Sunday.
Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, those are 3 projects that we'll be like looking out for, and we'll amplify them as they come out. I'm super stoked to hear all those and to see the book too with the scores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to look really amazing. And then Guno Park, the guy who did the Doyers cover, he's going to do a video for the JIV project.
Oh,
sick. Cool.
What does that mean? Like a film or like an animated thing or?
As far as it's like kind of animated. We filmed, like JIV filmed himself like reciting the poem basically.
Oh.
Or the piece, and then we filmed ourselves like sort of miming playing the parts.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
I guess Guno's gonna cut that in amongst these like short animations basically.
Oh wow.
Cool.
Yeah, is there any other shout outs or anything else you want to I don't know. I really feel like we've touched on quite a bit, and I appreciate y'all's time for sure. Bob, do you have any other questions or anything?
No.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so very, very much for talking to us. Unless there's anything else that you wanted to touch on or say while you're here.
I think so. It's nice to meet you, Mark. I think I feel like I've seen you play before.
Maybe
At Dazzle or something.
Oh, yeah, that's possible. I used to play there quite a bit.
And
but yeah.
You've seen Static Trio play before.
No, I've just listened to Static Trio for forever.
Oh, crazy!
Mm-hmm.
I am a fan of Static Trio. That
was a fun band.
It's a very cool band. It's Dave Devine and John Grigsby and Mike. It's like Denver and Boulder crossover trio, and it was influential to me in a similar way that like Tortoise was, and that Stereolab and Claudia Quintet were, where it's like you can take these types of aesthetics, and it was another permission slip band, as I like to think of them. Where it's like you are allowed to basically be as creative and adventurous as you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
So good on you. Thank you very much for doing that.
Well, thanks for listening to it. You must be the only one.
Well, Danny,
I have a Static Trio
Oh yeah,
CD cover taped to my cello case.
Is that like the blue with the light and the birds on there?
Yeah, totally.
Great.
Wow.
The green and yellow and red.
Living room.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
Yeah, Dave's a G, man. He's always adventurous. I saw him out here recently with Shane Ensley and Scott Amendola. That's a great trio.
Oh yeah,
that's a really cool project that they have. Shane's in Denver now.
What's that called?
Bird, little, oof, yikes. Sorry, everyone. It's something to do with birds, but yeah, Dave Devine, Shane Ensley, and Scott Amendola. I'm sure I'll remember that as soon as we end the meeting. But yeah, y'all. So you can find Bob and I. We're on Twitter at tones_4 FOR. We're on Insta at FT4HB, FT4HB. And if you please like and subscribe and rate and everything for whatever platform you're getting your podcast for. It's really helpful for us for, like AI visibility, all the algorithm stuff. Yeah. And if you'd like to support us further, you can go on to Patreon, Fantastic Tones for Human Bones. You can search for us there and support at any level you wish. And you can find Mike and Topu. Their sites are www.livefootagebrooklyn.com. And then their Bandcamp is livefootagebrooklyn.bandcamp.com. And there's, you can just search for that. And please go to their Bandcamp. And their whole discography is available at a very reasonable rate. And you can get records and digital downloads individually. It's all beautiful music. And, really, really varied projects as well. So be sure to dig in and explore. Find your favorite live footage record. So any other places that people can find you that you'd like to amplify, or is that cool?
Maybe just Instagram. We're probably just most active on Instagram.
Okay.
Live Footage Brooklyn.
Live Footage Brooklyn on Insta. All right, cool. And we'll put all this up in the show notes. And yeah, this was super fun to talk to you both. Topu, and I do remember you almost helped my wife. You almost hooked us up with a cello one time when I was in New York. I was in touch with you I think 2016 or something. But anyway, shit. I hope that next time I'm out east, I can say hello and would love to make music with y'all at some point in the future.
Yeah,
definitely. For sure.
Right on, y'all.
Thanks a lot, guys. That was really fun.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you both. That was fantastic. I really appreciate your time, and I love these conversations. It's really valuable.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's a good track to go out on? Drop one in.
How about Unwritten Soundtrack is pretty good.
Cool.
With Danny.
All right. Yeah.